Welcome everyone to another 9th Age Fantasy Battles game battle report. This is game 3 from Guardcon 2018. So far we've had a loss and a draw, so not off to a great start. Game 3 sees me playing against Chris and his Vampire Covenant. So a bit of a mirror match going on, although totally different lists. Bit of history, I've never beaten Chris, but I used to have a list that had all the names of the people on it I aspired to beat, and Chris is now the last name on that list of players I've played against and not managed to beat. So an opportunity here to cross that final name off on the list. Yeah, been looking forward to this one. Interesting list to come up against. Quite wary of the Wraiths and the Shrieking Horror. They could be a nasty problem for my character or characters. Otherwise, don't really worry too much about the list. I feel that I've probably got an advantage if I can deal with those two threats. The problem being is I struggle to deal with threats outside of combat, so it's going to be quite important get my Vampire with the magic weapons into the Wraiths, and hopefully he can kill most of them before they go. So my list again, if you haven't seen it, pause and have a read. Big thing is it's focused around the two Vampire Knights and the two Vampire Covenant characters and the two Knight units. So for this game we are playing Secure Target and Battle Line. Chris got to choose sides. So we traded a couple of drops and then I went all down again to take first turn. So my deployment from left to right, you can see I've got some zombies. They are facing towards his front line. Then we've got dogs and bats and ghouls. We've got the characters with more bats in behind, and then next to them my other Vampire Knight unit, more dogs, and that last vampire unit on the end with the zombies there. As you can see, I've placed my marker on that right hand side with the zombies to just move forward and collect that, and on the left hand side I was very surprised that Chris put his marker all the way over there in my deployment zone. That's why the zombies and the ghouls are there. I'm assuming he's going to try and contest that, so we're going to try and hold our position there and pick up the points. In Magic we chose the same spells as normal. For Chris he's got Awaken the Beast, Savage Fury and Arise, which yeah, again doesn't worry me too much, I don't think. So his deployment from left to right, he's got his Varkalak, big block of skeletons, his Barrow Knights and his Ghoul block with his characters in it. Then we've got the Bat Swarm and the Shrieking Horror, and on the right hand side we've got the Phantom Hosts, the Coach and the Wraiths. So all the things that I'm worried about over on this right hand side. So I vanguard my dogs up fairly aggressively, need to chaff those Wraiths up and make sure I get the charge off on them, but also hoping we can get a Breath of Corruption off and just pick off a couple of them early on with magic. So turn 1, we push forward fairly aggressively. You can see the character with the magic weapons is pushed right up, ready to get into those ghostly units there. Zombies just on the hill, ready to claim that objective. Got myself a little bit tangled up again with the bats and the characters. Again, trying to make sure that if he charges the chaff, I have a counter charge. And that's about my movement. In Magic we managed to get a Pentagram of Pain, I think it was, off on the Wraith unit and kill a couple of those. And I think we raised a couple of zombies as well. And we went on to his turn. So his Dark Coach charged my dogs. I believe the Wraiths went for a charge as well and failed. The Phantom Host I don't think charged. I think they've just moved in there to chaff me. On the left hand side his Varkalak is moved up, ready to come in and get my zombie unit, and the Barrow Knight has pushed forward, otherwise he's held back quite a bit. In his magic phase I don't think he achieved much. He cast a buff I believe on one of his units, which was not going to impact the game at all, and that was about all he managed to get off. In combat, he destroys the dogs with his coach, and I don't think he overran into. He might have overrun into my knights. I can't remember. Apologies for that. I think he didn't overrun into my knights. And then on my turn, I charged my knights in to his coach. I charged the wrong character into the Phantom Host, but we saw that we could get the zombies into his flank, so we charged downhill into the flank there. I figured charge, flank, big flank, 3 ranks. That crumble bonus is going to be massive, as he could easily make all his saves and take very, very few wounds there. My giant bats charge into his bat swarm, as I figure I could probably win that fight as well over time. And then on the left hand side, we have got our dogs just up there chaffing him again. The ghouls are ready to charge his Varkalak, and the zombies just holding there ready to receive the charge from the Varkalak. In combat, we destroy the coach on the charge with our Vampire Knights. We also managed to destroy the Phantom Host, which I was really pleased about. Managed to inflict a couple of wounds with our charge, and then the big combat res managed to pop the unit, so that was really, really pleasing. We reformed the Knights facing into the centre, hoping we'll get an opportunity to charge either the ghouls or the Shrieking Horror next turn. My go with the magical weapons is now eyeing up the Wraith unit to finish them off, and that takes us on to Chris's turn 2. So on his turn, the Varkalak charges into the zombies. Surprised he did that, as I'm certain to hold, and then next turn I can charge his flank with my ghouls. Surely with the attacks from the ghouls and the charge flank, big flank and ranks bonus, I should be able to break him and crumble him to death there. The Wraiths went for another charge on me and failed. I dearly wish they had made that charge. I was really, really keen on that fight, and my character should kill nearly the whole unit before they go. The Shrieking Horror though then moves over in front of me and prepares to scream at me, and that is going to be a major problem, and that is why I would have loved the Wraiths to come in. In other news, his ghoul block just pushes forward a little bit. The Baronites have charged into my dogs finally, which is going to probably give me an opportunity to counter-charge with my General's unit. The Skeleton unit still doesn't really move forward, so he's pretty much at this point, it seems, giving me the secondary objective. So in magic and shooting, his Shrieking Horror does 5 wounds onto my Vampire Knight unit. Ouch, I think he did max wounds and I don't get any saves, so that really, really hurt. In other news, his Knights destroyed my dogs and overrun, and we move on to my turn. So on my turn, the ghouls charge into the Varkalak's flank. My General's unit charge into the flank of the Baronites. The bats just fly up to chaff his ghoul unit. My other bat unit is still trading blows with his bat swarm. We didn't manage to destroy that unit. I think he's still got about 4 wounds left. The big decision, and I think ended up being the wrong one, was, well, no doubt it ended up the wrong choice. In hindsight, this was a bad mistake. We charged the Shrieking Horror. The hope was that I would break it on the charge and overrun out of line of sight of the Wraiths, and while he might reaper me, I won't crumble, and then I'll be free to carry on my merry way. But as you're going to see, that plan doesn't quite work out. So in magic, I think we heal some wounds on the Knight unit, and then we go on into combat. So in combat, we put a good number of wounds on the Shrieking Horror, but we don't manage to kill it. I think it's got 1 wound left, which means I'm not even going to get much combat res in the following turn. We kill the Varkalak with the ghouls, as I thought we would. and the General's unit absolutely massacres the Baronites and turns around ready to take on his Ghoul block, which, yeah, I'm not sure how that fight will go. In theory, it sounds like a good fight. He's AP 0, I've got a 1-up save, so even though he's got quite a few bodies there, I'm fairly confident we're going to destroy a significant number of them on the charge. So we move on to his turn. He charges the bats and destroys them. He finally starts moving his skeleton unit forward. On the right hand side, the wraiths come into my flank. This is really not going to be good. The bat swarm, you can see, managed to kill off my my giant bats. I have a feeling that I used a Pentagram of Pain aura, and it might have inflicted a few casualties on myself there as well. But I was trying to thin down the wraiths a little bit, which, as you can see, I think there's only 5 or 6 left now. Unfortunately, that combat goes as expected, and he pops my unit. The wraiths on the charge killed all the vampire knights. I killed the shrieking horror and left me with a huge combat res deficit, and my character pops, and that was a very bad mistake. And what was starting to look like a very big win for me suddenly does not look nearly so good. On the left hand side, my turn, we charge our character and unit into his ghouls, and you can see we absolutely massacre them. We kill about 30 ghouls. Unbelievably good charge there. In the challenge, I only managed to get the 1 wound off on his baby vampire, so that was rather disappointing. I'm stuck in that challenge. I did intend to fit a flaming banner in on this unit, but instead kept the champion and standard on my smaller unit, and in hindsight that was a bad mistake. On the other side, the zombies have charged the wraiths, mainly just hoping to hold them there for a while. I'm not too worried if my zombies die, but we really need to stop those wraiths coming and annoying my other character. So on his turn, skeletons keep pushing forward. The bat swarm avoids the zombie unit that I summoned. The magic phase sees him raise a fair number of ghouls. At first I wasn't too worried about this. I figured I'm just going to kill them all again, and there'll be lots of combat res. The zombies don't really do very well against the wraiths, as you would expect, but they do hold for another turn. In combat, disaster strikes. His vampire character managed to kill off 3 vampire knights. I think I failed a large number of armor saves. I didn't do any wounds in the challenge, which was really disappointing, and all of a sudden now that fight looks really grim. What do we got left? 1 wound on our vampire champion and our character, and he's got a significant number of bodies there, so that is now going to turn very bad. And then on the other side, ghouls are fighting the skeletons. So the next turn, we go down to just having my general left. We do manage to win the challenge finally. The zombies are still trying to catch that bat swarm. The ghouls fighting well with the skeletons there should manage to grind them out over time. As you can see, we've managed to go 7 wide now, and we're slowly crushing them. He reforms after winning the previous round of combat. We're back into a challenge again. My character on his general now. I inflict a couple of wounds. He doesn't inflict any back to me. And I think I got my vampiric roll off because I believe I crumbled a little bit, but we managed to heal back up again. The following turn though, he kills me with combat res. Basically, I failed to wound his character. He's got 3 ranks, so he won combat by 3, which is enough to pop me. So really disappointing there. I thought charging into that unit was a great idea. and nearly destroyed him, and then I thought second round of combat we would finish him off, but he managed to raise enough bodies. I fluffed my attacks a bit the second round of combat, failed some armor saves, and suddenly it went very, very bad. I guess that's just the luck of the dice a bit. You roll enough ones on your armor save, it's going to hurt. The ghouls keep going. We managed to destroy that skeleton unit on the last turn of the game. So we finish up winning the secondary objective. All I have left is a unit of zombies and a unit of ghouls. He's got his ghouls and his character left. And I think that's about it. So frustrating game. It looked like it was going very, very well and all was in hand. And then disaster struck with making another bad choice. Really disappointed how I'm using these vampire characters. Felt pretty dejected at the end of day one. We haven't really played nearly as well as I would normally expect to. So final result was a 10-10. Chris was winning 13-7, but the objective again going to me brings it back to a 10-10. So a small loss and 2 draws for day one, sitting on 28 points, a lot lower than I've been in a long time at the end of day one. So hopefully day two can bring me some more luck and better fortune, and if nothing else, we'll play our vampire characters a little bit more smartly and make some better choices. So hope you've enjoyed this. It was a good game. Enjoyed playing Chris. It was shame we couldn't cross his name off the list, but next time we will avenge that. So like if you haven't, subscribe if you haven't, and we'll see you on the next one. Cheers.